is the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show tonight, coming to you from the Mozambique Steakhouse in beautiful Laguna Beach, California, with legendary Jethro Tull guitarist Martin Barre. What was your youth like growing up in Kings Heath, Birmingham, England?
Different, because kids today, have so much they can do, and it's all there for them. In 1950s, there wasn't a lot going on. But the good thing about that was that music was the release. It was that light at the end of the tunnel. It was that door that you could open and take you somewhere where it was much better than being at school. It was quite a dreary childhood, but nobody knew any better, so it was normal but pretty boring.
What motivated you to play guitar, and at what age?
I think it's just because I was not like other kids. I think it was a good way. I've always found most people don't fit my sort of mould, and the kids at school, whatever they did or whatever they're into, didn't interest me at all. And then my sister, who's 3 years older than me, took me to see a band play near where we lived in Birmingham, and I'd never seen one. I didn't even know what a band was. And we went into this small room, and they were unbelievable, and I literally was glued to the floor the whole time, transfixed by this band and the guitar player, because the guitar player had this gorgeous Gibson 345, and he had this bunch of grapes. Do you know what a bunch of grapes is?
No, I do not.
Oh dear, you haven't lived. A bunch of grapes was like the Teddy Boy Rockers hairstyle, where it came down and flipped up again. And it was the cool thing.
I think we call that a pompadour.
Okay, cool. And he had a cigarette out of his mouth that he, and the ash was hanging off, and he'd be playing like this, and it would drop all down his guitar, and then he'd light another one. He was so cool, and I just thought, that's what I want to do.
What did you learn working with producer and future owner of Chrysalis Records, Terry Ellis, and recording engineer Andy Johns during your first recording with Jethro Tull, Stand Up?
From Terry Ellis, nice guy that he is, nothing. Although Terry was very supportive of me within the group. He was a super nice person. He was responsible for finding me, because the guys, when Mick Abrams left, couldn't remember my name or the band that I came from, although we'd played together. And Terry found us. And he's a nice guy, but Terry is a businessman, and was a businessman, and he tried to get involved in the music a little bit. He's a businessman, and very, very good. He got us record deals. He got us an agency in America. He made Jethro Tull in the States and in Europe and England. Andy Johns had a completely different job of just being a studio engineer, a very good one, and he did the first 2 albums. You probably know more than me. 1 or 2 of the early albums, and so he takes credit for that sound, what we did. He was the engineer in those days, was part of the band.
So how did the success of the Jethro Tull album Aqualung change your life in 1971?
It didn't, because we were pretty well on a roll by then. Benefit and Stand Up before it had sort of put us into this environment where we were doing better and better each tour. We toured with Led Zeppelin as a support band, and through that tour we made it in the States. The next time around we were headlining, so we were doing the same stadiums that Led Zeppelin were doing, but we were the main act. Thanks to them, the albums had done well. We played so many concerts. We were on a roll. Aqualung was the next album. It wasn't. It was difficult to make. It was a nightmare. Things went wrong musically. It was difficult. We weren't getting on musically, or it was stressful, traumatic. And at no point did we think, wow, this is a monster. In fact, at the end of it, we were just relieved we got through it. But then people bought it and they were like, wow, this is really, really different. So there's never a plan. You know, you can't plan success, or in music you can't, because the unknown factor is the buying public, and you just don't know what they're going to like or how they're going to react to whatever you're doing.
Did you guys bond with the members of Led Zeppelin during that period?
Yeah, they're good guys. Yeah, I still know them. I did a gig in England with Dan, the singer, just acoustic gig. Two of us in a pub, and Robert Plant came to see us play, and he's a really, really nice person. The other guys I've seen less over the years, but yeah, we got on well. Yeah, nice people.
What do you talk about when you hang out with? Do you guys just talk about music?
No, we have nothing in common musically at all. In fact, I do with Robert Plant, because we do a version of Crossroads, and he heard us play that at this big Croppity festival in England, and he thought it was really cool because I played a mandolin, and that was, you know, it's when he was doing things with his band as a solo band, and he particularly liked that, which that was nice, you know. But no, Led Zeppelin were on another universe musically, and on another level above Tull. No, I don't think they liked our music at all. I won't say they got on with all of Jethro Tull, but I got on with them great, and Clive got on with the guys, you know, Bonzo, drummer, got on really well. It was on a friendship level, not on a, hey man, I think your music's amazing, or I think you're a great guitar player. That never happened. You just either liked somebody and went out for a drink, or you didn't.
How did the musical hierarchy work in Jethro Tull, and how did you see that change over the years?
I mean, at the beginning, Ian was very dominant in that hierarchy, because he was writing all the songs. He knew the direction he wanted to go in, and we were sort of following. I mean, I was a novice. I was a beginner, really, as a professional musician. I played for 3 years before that, but very naive. So, you know, we're all learning our craft. We're all learning how to play our instruments. We're all learning how to perform live, how to project to the audience, how to record. Everybody was learning, all the bands were, but Ian had his finger on the button, because he was leading the songwriting in the direction that no other bands were going. So Jethro Tull were unique. Nobody else was playing that style of music, and that should never be made any less important in the history of the band. But then we developed as musicians. We brought ideas to the table, started writing bits of music, and it sort of metamorphed into a situation where Ian would bring a very basic song, few chords, an idea of a melody, and we would sit in the room and make it into a piece of music. But nobody had a notebook saying, oh yeah, John Evans wrote that little idea, so let's make a note of that. That's 45 seconds. That wasn't the concept ever. It was our jobs, you know. I never thought any more of it than part of my job. You know, it changed, and it was never the same any one year to the next. But the longer Tull went on, the more everybody had to input into the music.
And Ian was okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, nobody can sustain 43 years of great albums, great music writing, great arranging, and great performing without help. Mm-hmm. You know, I would say it's virtually impossible. But yeah, and yeah, he was okay with it. Yeah, he was never negative about any ideas. He welcomed them. And we worked together. We were a unit, a band, certainly in the first sort of 35 years.
What are some memories from the 1970 Tanglewood show and the Isle of Wight Festival in England in 1970?
Tanglewood, I remember it, but I remember it. The Who were there, but you'd have to tell me who else was there to bring back any more memories. It was just another big festival gig, outdoor gig in America, and I do remember being there amongst many gigs. The Isle of Wight, I remember a lot more about it because it's obviously closer to home. We're staying in a big house with a load of other bands from Chrysalis 10 years after. I can't even remember, but many other bands in this big country house. So it was a big social affair. We got helicoptered into the backstage area. It was a massive festival. It was a really big deal. I'm not saying that Tanglewood wasn't, but it was closer to home, so it was more personable.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer played, I think, their second show ever at the Isle of Wight. Did you ever hang out with Carl or Greg?
Yeah, we've known those guys. Greg Lake has passed away, unfortunately, as Keith Emerson. But yeah, we've grown up with it. I mean, all these bands, you run into them every other year. So, hi Keith, how you doing? Oh, great, man. Blah, 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 blah. You chew the fat, is that the expression? And then you don't see them for another year. It's the way of music, but it's a community. And as I said earlier, that there might be a few people you just go, whoa, that guy has a real ego, or I don't like him at all. You keep away from them. Most of them, they're just normal people doing the same job that we did and do now. And so all the bullshit gets put aside. You don't have to talk bullshit because they understand what it is. It's nice, I mean, I like people, and if they're great musicians and doing good music and in a great band, it's even nicer. But again, it's never on a musical level. I'm not interested in speaking to people on a musical level because I'll listen to their music and get a lot from it, but I don't need to get any deeper than that.
Do you think that the music business has become more dehumanized over the last 20 years?
Yeah, I do. I think communication between bands and the audience has changed, and I get a lot of comments, even from people, my kids go and see live bands play, and they say, oh, we went to go and see so-and-so, but wow, it was a dreadful concert. That they just looked really miserable, like they didn't want to be there. And I said, well, that's really bad, because you could play their CD at home with a glass of wine and have more fun than sit in an audience and just see miserable people play. So that's one thing. It's become electronic. That isn't music. Electronic music isn't the music that I'm involved in. And it's very cold and bland and unidirectional, shallow. I really, it has a purpose and it has a place in people's lives, but it's not music. And the Grammys are now just depersonalised, where they're awarded on a basis that I don't think is particularly about music and music writing and musicality. And the fact that we won one Grammy and it meant the earth to us, but every year there's people with an armful of Grammys, and I just think, why does any one person need 7 Grammys? It just becomes devalued. So in many different ways it has, and I'm not knocking it, because they're not going to give me one, so I'm not jealous, and I'm not have nothing against it. But it's become a different. I think it could have been a very. It's like an Oscar. An Oscar is like the golden chalice. It's such a wonderful thing to have one. It's really rare and important. That's so should a Grammy be, and they're not, and I don't know why. But I think they should be harder to get, and they should be more about the quality and the musicality. And I hate to say it, but maybe the way we got one, because we worked our asses off for many, many, many years, and we didn't really want or get an industry nod. We weren't looking for one, but when we finally got the Grammy, that was really, really nice, and it meant the world to me. I'm so proud of it. But that's what a Grammy should be. It should be on your shelf, just that one Grammy, and in a place where everybody that comes to my house goes, I say, yes, that's my Grammy. Please pray in front of it, because it's sacred. I just think, you know, music is a precious commodity and needs to be respected.
What inspired the lyrics to the title and the song off your solo album, Roads Less Traveled?
I just think it's, you know, people ask me about my guitar playing, who's influenced you, who do you like, what music do you listen to, and, you know, where do you get your ideas from? And I'm like, no, none, nobody. I listen to a lot of things and I soak it in, and I like good playing, I like good music in any genre, but I've since I was a school kid back in King's Heath, and I didn't like the kids at school, and when I was at university I couldn't stand the kids at university, they're so boring. That's why I quit and joined a band, because I didn't want to go mainstream. I've never been a mainstream person. If everybody goes and plays basketball, I'll go and play table tennis. If everybody takes drugs, I'll drink a cup of tea. I just don't want to be a clone, one of the crowd. It's my, call me obstinate, or, you know, but I've never wanted to be that sort of person, and particularly in England, when Tull was starting, everybody wanted to play the blues, so that there was bucketfuls of guitar players playing Albert King licks and learning B.B. King songs, and I just thought, why are they doing that? Just leave those guys alone, because you'll never ever in your lifetime hold a candle to any of those guys. Why? And so I just never copied a lick at all. If somebody said to me, I mean, you get all these musicians and they play all the Beatles songs and they'll play all the standards and the jazz things. They got all these sort of party pieces, and it's great. It's very impressive. I don't know one. If you gave me a guitar and said, play something, I'd be like, I can't do it. I don't do it. I just do my own things, and I write arrangements and I write the music. So Roads Less Traveled is the road I want to go down. I want to go down the road where there's not a car in sight, there's no houses, there's no people, because I want to see what happens around the corner. I don't want to go down the freeway where everybody else is going, because it must be going somewhere good, because everybody's doing it. No, I want to find the alternative.
The song Bad Core Blues, what inspired the lyrics?
I've just got an image in my mind. It's in other songs as well. It's a sort of romanticised image of a down and out musician who's not a nice person, and uses people to get to the next town, to get to the next year, to get to the next week, the next day, but he's doing it through music, and it's that sort of really on the road, life on the road, but in a really bad, cheap way.
Lastly, For No Man.
You might have me there. I'd have to look at the lyrics again. Yeah. Okay. It's because I don't revel in my lyrics, you know. I struggle to write them, and to me they're not pieces of poetry, and then, you know, they're not in my head because I don't sing them. So I spend literally 2-3 months on the lyrics. The music is a month and the lyrics is 3 months, because I want them to be better and better and better. So it's quite a task. But again, that one, it's about relationships, and it might harken back to some relationships that I've had within Tull. So it's a very personal thing where people use people, where there isn't the respect for and I'm a great believer in that everybody's equal. You know, just because you're a rock star makes you special, or you're a movie star. To me, it's the opposite. If there was a movie star, a rock star, and some guy who I'd never met before, and I could have dinner with one of them, I'd go for the guy I'd never met before, because it's the road less travelled again. But people, everybody has something to say, and probably the more genuine person is the one who doesn't have the stuff.
The Blairing Out Show.